So, with something like 24 with the real-time aspects, how does that change the way you come to work and the way you act?
The truth of the matter is, the real-time aspect of 24 is really like this veneer that was pasted on the show from the get-go. But it doesn't really, the writing of the show is often very much like the writing of other episodicals, right? The only thing that they have to do is make sure that, the changes that the characters go through are not so absurd as to be, impossible to occur in a 24-hour period. That doesn't mean to say that those changes sometimes don't occur. I mean, in season 6, for example, I get the crap beaten out of me, like in a fashion that would send most people not only to hospital for a few months, but then, somewhere warm, Brighton or something.
Yeah, that was one of our...
to convalesce for the next 3 years. And I went back to work after about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? But, one of the great things about 24, I think, is that you enjoy it. Because it's a compelling bit of drama. It's important not to take the microscope to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then you lose the fun. I mean, and it is a fun show.
I think we're quite aware of that on the podcast as well. It's quite easy to pick fault in something that happens an hour after something else.
Totally.
Like, you can't travel from Los Angeles, whatever.
I know.
And you have to take it as it is, and absorb yourself in it. Enjoy the kind of tempo and the I guess the fast pace and that real time part of
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the way to enjoy that show, and I think people do enjoy that show that way. One of the things about 24 that I think people, particularly in the US, do every so often is that they go the opposite, and they actually think it's almost reality television, right? And then you'll hear them talking about things, because the storylines cut very close to the bone when it comes to current events.
Yeah.
You get people thinking that it's actually sort of reality, and then they'll quote the show to you as if they'll go, "No, I have it on authority. This happened on 24," and then you have to go, "Wait a second. Let me just remind you that it is in fact scripted drama."
Fortunately, it's not real.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our favourite parts from season 6 was obviously, the whole part was Morris and his character and the way it develops, and of course the torture scene.
Yeah.
But season 6 had its critics. What did you think of season 7 as a whole? And I suppose
I think that if I could hazard an assumption about the way things have progressed, season 5 of 24 was such a high watermark for that show.
Yeah.
And I remember joining the cast at the end of season 5, and I remember the producers scratching their heads and going, we're in some kind of state of existential angst, because this has been the best season of a television show we could ever dream. We couldn't even dream it was, season 5, their viewership just went through the roof. The 5th season of a show, that's unheard of. Usually a show gets its viewership first, second, third season, and then it sort of coasts if it goes on from there. Season 5, it just went through the roof, and they went, how are we gonna top this? And that was the season that won all the Emmys, all the accolades, and so it was such a good season that I think that the next 2 seasons were paler in comparison. I'm not saying they weren't good, I'm just saying that they were not as dynamic. And it took them, I think, until this season to get that dynamism back. And I think that's why I think people are excited about season 8, because the dynamism is back in the show, which had, somehow by default, season 5 being so good, it sort of made it a little anemic. Just a little bit. I mean, without exaggerating. And so I think that's the reason why people were sort of sometimes a little critical of season 6. It's sort of it meandered, and season 7 they I think they were going already in the right direction, because they moved the show out of LA. And I think with the show now in New York, and with the storyline that's occurring, I think it's back on track. That's my Carlo Rota's
take on it.
Take on it.
Our listeners like to hear about off-screen stories, behind the scenes Have you got any you could share with us from your time on 24? And I remember you told us about your first day arriving at work when your car broke.
Oh yeah, that was a terrific day.
Any interesting stories you could share?
No, you want something else, not the same. You want the same story.
It's a good story.
Oh, you know what? I'm not prepared for that.
Did you have that story prepared?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I didn't have that story.
You literally were rehearsing it in the mirror. Yeah. I am going to give them this story again, and they are going to love it. They're going to be on the floor rolling around.
You know, there's a very funny thing that happened. I did this really heavy, dramatic scene with Chloe. It was the scene I remember that I went into the liquor store and I bought the whiskey, and then I come out and I drink it and I throw it up, and then my phone rings and it's Chloe, and she's at CTU going, where are you? And that day, Mary Lynn came to set, even though she's not actually in that scene. You know, her stuff is shot separately, but she came to set because we had this thing where we thought if it's a big scene, we should be there in order to give the lines. And she came to set and she read the lines to me, which was fantastic. She was standing off camera. She read the lines to me. Unfortunately, I had to leave directly afterwards, and she had a scene that wasn't as dramatic, but really and truly, I should have stayed for it. But I had to go to the airport to pick something up, and I had no idea. We were going late, and I said, "Oh my God, Marilyn, I'm so sorry. I'm so bloody sorry." But I knew the scene wasn't as a big a deal. I said, "Are you going to be all right? And if you're not going to be all right, I will somehow arrange to have her, get in a cab, etc., etc." So she said, "No, don't worry about it. Go." And everyone went, go. And so I went. So I left. So the next day I went to set, and I had another rather large scene, and Mary Lynn rehearsed it with me, and she was actually in the scene though with me. She rehearsed it with me, and then I went off. I got changed. I came back. I readied myself for this scene. It's a relatively big, scene, and it was the scene when I was in a hospital.
Right.
And I'm getting myself ready to perform the scene. I turn around, and there's someone sitting opposite me, and it's not Mary Lynn. It's one of the stand-ins dressed like Mary Lynn.
Payback.
And I went, "What the fuck is going on?"
That's genius.
And so I saw Mary Lynn going, "Yeah, sure. It mattered that you left."
See, good story. We can carry on with these. You've got more. You can think about on the spot, just like
No,
that.
I've got more. I'm just wondering whether or not they're tellable.
No, that's a good one. That's really good.
Yeah.
We thought there had to be some more good material there between you and Marilyn, because obviously she's a comedian as well.
She did she invited a bunch of people from 24 to go and do a night at the Comedy Factory.
Right.
And the theme of the night is the lie that you have told. The big lie that you've told in your life. And so a bunch of us went, and I've never done any stand-up before. This was a great friendly audience. Obviously they'd come to see people from 24, so it was sort of like a home crowd audience.
I expect they're expecting big things from you as well.
I had a blast, man. I had the best possible time. I can understand now why people do stand-up. It's like mainlining.
Yeah.
You get this thrill, this intense joy. It's and a high as a result. I think I did a whole piece on the whole Freddie Mercury thing.
Oh yeah, we had that.
But I told the lie that I never included in the Freddie Mercury story, right?
Yeah, that's a good story. If you've not heard that story, you need to re-listen to our last interview with Carlo, because it's a good one. And it's something that you'd cherish for the rest of your life, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So who was the worst person who turned up for that stand-up from 24?
Oh, I can't say that. I was. It was me. I was the worst person.